Good morning, students. This is Anjali, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, AIML, IARE, Hyderabad. Today's our topic name is Definition and Terminology on Communicating Data. Student, you are very aware about the communication. Communication, just transferring of data from one person to another person, that is communication. So, here we will see in which way we can communicate, how we have to visualize, everything we will learn in this topic, communicating in data. So first we will say, what is data visualization? The data visualization is just a representation of data through use of common graphics such as charts, plots, infographics and even animation. So, this data visualization is one part of the communication. That data visualization is just, we can use for representation purpose. And how we can represent the data? By using the graphics, charts, plots, infographics and even you can use the animations also. By using these techniques, it is very easy to understand the user. So these visual displays of information communicate complex data, relationships and data-driven insight in a way that is easy to understand. Whenever we will use the data visualization method, at that time it will be very easy to understand the user and that it will create some relationship between the users and that particular system. So data visualization is one of the best steps of the data science process, which states after that data has been collected, processed and modeled. So every time whenever you will go through the data visualization, whenever you will use the data visualization technique, at that time you have to collect your data. After that you have to process and then you have to model your data. So here this data visualization makes some conclusions. So what is the importance of the data visualization? Generally the data visualization provides some quick and effective way for communicating purpose. By using this thing, we can convey our message to the destination. Even it will be easy to communicate information, it will easy to provide the information in universal manner by using some visual information only. These things generally we can use in the business, we can use in the point of the customer behavior, then again they will stakeholder can be used, and if you people use these things in the business, then it will be very easy to understand, to attract your customer to your things, your product. Now, Simpson's paradox. Simpson's paradox is one of the best way to communicate. The Simpson's paradox is when trained or output is present, when the data is put into groups that either reverse or disappears when the data is combined. In Simpson's paradox, generally we will combine our data, but whatever you have data, whatever you got the output, you have to keep your data in the form of the reverse, or you have to disappear your data, but after combining. And generally that is Simpson's paradox is just a statistical paradox, and when we will use, it can draw the two opposite conclusions for the same data depending on how the data is grouped. Sometimes for particular data we will get the two or more conclusions. So on that point your output will be depend, and this Simpson's paradox is totally depends on how you are grouping that data. And this Simpson's paradox is representing the situation where you believe you understand the direction of relationship between two variables, but Whenever you will consider the additional variable, that direction appears in the reverse format. Why Simpson's paradox important in data science? When working with data related projects, we are often focused on the data and try to interpret the story it's trying to tell us. This Simpson's paradox we will use in data related project. So we can say that we can use in the machine learning project, artificial intelligence projects are there. So we can use the Simpson's paradox in that project. But if we apply our knowledge, real world knowledge, so at that time, we will get total different story. But if you will use and if you will focus on the Simpson's paradox, so at that time you will get a different story. But Simpson's paradox generally focus on how a lack of sufficient analytical insight and overall project knowledge can mislead us make wrong decision. So whenever you will apply your real world knowledge in the project, so at that time you will get the different output, and when you will apply the Simpson's paradox, at that time you will get the different knowledge. So at that time, we can't consider or we can't predict our correct output. So here, you can take some wrong decisions also. So for example, we are seeing a rise in the use of real-time data analytics. More and more teams are implementing this to help detect player patterns and use this insight to make decisions in short periods. So here the Simpson's paradox, generally we can say it depends on the real-time data analytics. And nowadays so many scientists are trying to detect some different patterns by using the Simpson's paradox. So they can make decisions in short periods. Working with real-time data analysis, it's very effective. But when it's very effective, when you are focusing continuously on how you have to improve your company performance. So definitely, in short period, you have to reach on your destination. So this short period can cause some misleading information also. Sometimes you can lose important information. Sometimes hide the overall true trend that data shows. So this thing can happen. So definitely wrong data analysis can hold the company back. But we don't want this. So anyhow, we all know that wrong decision can hold the company back. Therefore, taking into consideration Simpson's paradox benefits are more. Here we have to understand the limitations of the data. Whenever you are using that data, which data you are using, that structured data or unstructured data, everything you have to check, and then you have to apply your Simpson's paradox, and so then you can get the particular output. So Simpson's paradox generally helps to remind your working environment, working with data, whatever their importance are there, you have to understand your data, you have to understand your level of the institution. So this will happen when you will use your soft skills at present and you will use the critical thinking. So our main aim is that to look for hidden bias and variables. So we have to find out hidden variables, and after that we have to discover that hidden variables very easily by using the Simpson's paradox. Why the Simpson's paradox happen? The Simpson's paradox happen because disaggregation of the data. What is meant by the disaggregation? Just we can say splitting into the subgroups. And this disaggregation generally can certain subgroups to have imbalanced representation compared to other subgroups. So definitely, you have some groups and you have used the disaggregation, splitting into the subgroup. And after splitting into the subgroup, sometimes we will not get the particular output. and there will be some imbalancing between the data. So this might due to relationship between the variables. This can happen this can happen between the variables and due to the way that the data has been partitioned into the subgroup. So for example, we can say admissions. A famous example of Simpson's paradox appears in admission data for graduate school UC Berkeley in the 1973. Now in this example, graduate admissions data overall, it appeared that men were more likely to be admitted than women. So that means we can say that there is a gender discrimination. But whenever we are looking towards our data, each department individually, you can say here admissions by the gender, male and the female. For male it's showing 0.4 above 0.4 and for female it's showing below 0.3. But if you will see individual data for particular department, there are different departments A, B, C, D, E, F. In every department you can say female admissions are more, except two departments. In every departments female admissions are more. So here we have to find out why this happens. When we have seen that this data together, at that time male student admitted more as compared to female. But when we have seen the data individually, particular department, so at that time we got that in every department female student has admitted. Why this happened? Because different departments had very different acceptance rate. Definitely every department says its own rates. So we can say more female applied to the harder departments. Some were harder to get into than others. So more females applied to the harder departments. Therefore, female had lower acceptance rate in the aggregate. But which view is the correct view? Now, do men or women have higher acceptance rate? We have to find out. We don't know which view is correct. For whom higher acceptance rate is more? Is there gender bias in admissions at this university? So, there are so many questions arises. So, we have to find out. So, in this case, it seems most reasonable to conclude that looking at admission rate by department make more sense and a disaggregated view is correct. Actually, whenever you will disaggregate your data, at that time you are getting a correct point, correct data. Now we will see correlation. Correlation measures generally relation between the two variables. For example, there is a x and y, two variables. So definitely both variables are related to each other, both variables are linked with each other. For example, we can say that x tends to y. So in short, we can say y is totally dependent on y. Y is totally dependent on x. So automatically x and y are related with each other. We mentioned that function has purpose to predict a value. Here definitely we have to predict the value by converting your input to output. Now we can say that function uses the relationship between the two variables for the prediction only. Then correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient measures relationship between the two variables. In correlation also, it's just relation between two variables. Correlation coefficient also, it will show the measures between the relationship of the variables. Now correlation coefficient can never be less than -1 or higher than 1. That means range will be -1 to 1. 1 is your perfect linear relationship between the variable and 0 is no linear relationship between the variable, and the -1 is showing the perfect negative linear relationship between the variable. Now, why correlation analysis is important? So, correlation analysis can reveal meaningful relationships between different metrics or groups of the metrics. So, already I have told that correlation is showing just a relationship between the variable, and here we are doing analysis on the variable, so it will show the meaningful relationship between different metrics. So information about those connections can provide new insights and reveal interdependencies even if metrics come from different part of the business. So suppose there is a strong correlation between two variables, or we can say between two variables or metrics, and one of them is observed acting in a particular way. So in case what will happen, we can conclude that other one is being affected similarly. So this can help you for relating the metrics together to reduce the need for individual data processing. Pearson correlation. Pearson correlation is the most used correlation statistic for measuring your degree of relationship. Here we will use the degree of relationship between the variables, but which variable? Those variables which are linear. For example, in the stock market, we can take the example of the stock market. If I want to measure how two stocks are related to each other, Pearson correlation is used to measure the degree of relationship between them. So automatically point biserial correlation is conducted with Pearson correlation formula, and except one of the variable is dichotomous. Here we will use the formula for calculating the Pearson R correlation. Rxy is equal to summation of n summation of xi yi minus summation of xi summation of yi divided by whole square n summation of xi square minus in bracket summation of xi whole square into again n summation of yi square minus summation of yi whole square. So definitely Rxy is showing that Pearson R correlation coefficient between the x and y, n is number of the observation, xi is value of x for both ith observation, and yi is value of I for ith observation. Now Kendall rank correlation. The Kendall rank correlation is non-parametric test that measure the strength of dependence between two variables. Here we have to check how many variables which data is totally dependent on the variables. Consider we have two samples, sample A and a sample B, where each sample size is like n. So we know that the total number of pairings with A and B will be n into n minus 1 divided by 2. So here formula is that T is equal to NC minus ND divided by 1 by 2 n into n minus 1. NC is number of concordant, ND is number of discordant. Now Spearman rank correlation. The Spearman rank correlation is non-parametric test that is used to measure degree of association between two variables. Here it will show that degree of association between the two variables. So Spearman rank correlation test, it will not carry any assumptions about your data distribution. It's just appropriate correlation analysis whenever the variables are measured on the ordinal scale, and coefficient require the table date of the data which will display the raw data and its ranks and the difference between the two ranks. Here, with this square difference between the two ranks will be shown like scatter graph, which will indicate whether there is positive, negative or no correlation between the two variables. Here we have to check which relation is there, whether there is a positive correlation, negative correlation or the no correlation between the two variables. Now here, this other constraint that this coefficient work generally will work under the -1 to 1. That means our range will be -1 to 1. Where 0 means there was no correlation, -1 means negative correlation, and 1 means positive correlation. So for that there is a formula for the Spearman rank correlation. Spearman correlation is showing by rho 1 minus sigma summation of d I square into divided by n into n square minus 1. Rho means showing Spearman rank correlation, di is showing difference between the ranks of corresponding variables, and n means number of observations. Now what is multiple correlation analysis? There are so many techniques for determining your statistical relationship between the variables. That variables may be multiple variable or single variable also. So here we have to find out, we have to determine that statistical relationship. So this statistical correlation analysis will help to determine which variable have greatest impact on the particular outcome metric. So for example, we could apply multiple correlation analysis that uses price, season and store placement in order to determine collective relationship as well as the variables, individual relationships on the product quantities in a store. What does the causation mean in data? Till now we have seen the correlation, now we will see the causation. Causation indicates that one event is the result of occurrence of the other event. That means we can say there is a causal relation between the two events. One action, one event is happened, that after happening of the one event, it will affect on another. So that means causation. So here we can say that causation means its cause and the effect. It will show the cause and effect. The causal inference is totally powerful method, powerful technique where you can allow your data scientist for identifying the causes for the data, for identifying the causes for particular experiment, and even no experiment or test has been performed. They're actually using the causal method. It will increase the level of the confidence in business decision making by clearly connecting causes and the effects. Now we will see the communication. What is meant by the communication? In simple way, we can say that the communication means just transferring of the data from source to destination. Or we can say in bookish language, we can say the communication is a process that involves the sending and the receiving messages through the verbal and the non-verbal methods. So definitely for communicating purpose, there are two methods, verbal and the non-verbal methods. And in both methods, we can send our data and we can receive our data. So in general, we can say communication is process where it can involve the sending and the receiving of the data by using the verbal and the non-verbal method. So communication is always a two-way. That means what will happen? If that communication is two-way means information in the form of thoughts, opinion, ideas between two or more individuals with the purpose of building an understanding. So, whenever we are doing a communication in two way, at that time it is easy to convey our message. It is easy to convey our thoughts, opinions, to keep our opinions and ideas in front of the public. So, when you are keeping your opinions in front of public, so at that time it is very easy to build an understanding between two or more people. So communication is just a fundamental to existence and the survival of the human as well as organization also. So it is process of creating and sharing ideas, provide information, views, facts, feelings from one place, person or group to another. So automatically communicate means just we are creating and sharing our ideas, we are sharing our information, we are sharing our views, we are creating our facts. So we are conveying our message to another person, to another destination. So communication key to the directing function of the manage. What is meant by verbal communication? Verbal communication means spoken or verbal communication which includes face-to-face communication, telephone communication, radio or television communication, or there are so many other medias. So those are spoken communication or verbal communication. The verbal communication will use generally words for sharing your information with the other people. So it can therefore we can say both spoken and it can contain spoken and written communication also. So many people use the term to describe only spoken communication. So verbal element of the communication is all about the words that you choose and how they are heard and interpreted. It depends that communication in verbal communication you are using particular words, you are sharing the words. So here it is easy to convey our message, but it depends on the receiver how it is reacting, how it is interpreting your message. Now this form of the communication generally as well as a voice features such as pauses, focus, trace are used build a structure that allows the listener to follow your message. And that message will contain the intonation. What is meant by the intonation? Generally, intonation defines the how the pitch of your voice increases and falls during the speech. While speaking, you have to define. It will describe your pitch, how the pitch of your voice is increases and falls. That means we have to know on which point where we have to shift our voice, where we have to shift our pitch. The shift of variation in pitch can have an impact on meaning what we say. The next one is that the stress. Just stress is the process of emphasizing a word or statement in order to bring attention to it. Stress means in simple word we can say that like expression. We have to show we have to express, we have to give the speech according to expression. So it is very easy to mingle with the people, to communicate, to connect with the audience. So stress syllables and words are said louder for longer period of the time with higher pitch. So definitely when the speaker is monotone, these crucial cues are missing and the message become puzzling. So while conveying message, you have to keep in the mind intonation and the stress. Then pauses. Pauses is very important. Actually, pause will allow the speaker to gather his thought or her thoughts before making the final arguments. The speaker should know on which point she has to take the pause. So it will allow the audience to stay up with you while also giving them time to process that you just stated. That means we are also giving the time to them to understand what you have said. Then next one is that the focus trace. Actually, in focus trace, the listener attention is drawn a certain word or phrase when there is a focus tension. Actually, the employment of focus trace is used to clarify, emphasize and demonstrate the difference. Then next one is the pace. Pace is the rate at which you speak. Pace might be rapid, slow or moderate. It can fluctuate throughout your speech, and it is claimed that to vary the tempo, quickening up at the times, and then slowing down depending on the scenario. Actually, it depends on the scenario. It depends on the context. It depends on the situation where you have to take the pace. So it depends. So it will easy to keep the audience attention. Now next one is that non-verbal communication. The non-verbal communication covering body language, gesture, how we dress or act, where we stand and even our strength. So in non-verbal communication, it will cover all things, your expression, gesture, language, everything it will cover. So there are so many subtle ways that we communicate with the others. For example, the tone of voice can give clues to mood or emotional state, whilst hand signals, gesture can add to spoken message. So that means, for example, we have taken one of the example, tone of the voice. Generally, whenever we will speak, people can recognize, or we can say our friend can recognize on the basis of our tone. That our tone will say how our mood, we are emotional, we are in an emotional state or not. Everything our tone can explain. So non-vocal elements such as unspoken symbols, signs and signals to express meaning are examples of the verbal communication. So non-vocal elements such as body language, gesture, your facial expressions, or we can say the expressions, and even eye contact are the non-verbal communication. Definitely, when we are talking about the non-verbal communication, at that time, these things are very, very important. Your body language should be proper, your gesture should be proper, your facial expression should be good. Your eye contact is also very important. If your eye contact is very clear, it will show you are confident. You can speak very well. Now, in non-verbal communication, it's showing there are some points which we have to cover. Signals. Signals are movements that are used to express the others, one's wants, desires, feelings, and signaling is a type of the expressive communication. Actually, the signals just movements. It will help to express the others what want, others desires, others feeling, and even we can say that it is one of the way of expressive communication. The primary goal of the signal is that to change a single environment aspect in order to attract the attention and convey meaning. Then next one is that the signs. Signs do not belongs to any specific language. Just they are found in practically in region of the world. Primary distinction between sign and the signal is that signs such as traffic lights, police officer badge has inherent meanings, but a signal such as scream for air is only meaning that which extrinsic meanings can be formulated. Now symbols. Symbol has been defined as any device that can be used to create the abstraction. Symbols are used to create abstraction like visual representation of event like activity, object, person or location. Everything can be used to convey the information about any event, action, thing, person, location. So symbols can be used for communicating purpose in both way like receptive also and the expressive also. So more closely symbol resembles what it represents and more tangible it is. Next one is that icon. Icon is one of the visual representation of an application, capability, another concept or distinct thing that has meaning for the user. So icons are typically thought to dense collection of linked and unconnected the symbols. Then gesture. Gesture is movement of hand, arms or other bodily part meant to express, accentuate something most often while speaking. Gesture means just we have to express, we have to show our expression, we have to show hand movements, arm movements, how or we can say how your body parts are moving while speaking or while speaking. Then that means that gesture can develop communication lexicon which is more and less unique to each culture. Now proxemics. That proxemics is a study of how people from diverse culture use time and the space as well as body position and other elements to communicate. So proxemic is study of people expressed by standing closer or farther apart. So standing very close to someone to whom we are about disclose something private is example. The other example is backing away from someone when we feel our personal space is being infringed upon. So this is proxemics. Now we will see establishing causes. The causality is area of statistic that mainly misunderstood, sometimes misused by the people in the mistaken belief because some data shows correlation that there is a necessary underlying causal relationship. So here, use of control study is most effective way of the establishing causality between the variables. In controlled study, sample of population is split into two, both groups being comparable in almost every way. These two groups then receive different treatment and the outcomes of each group are assessed. For example, in medical research, one group may receive placebo and while other may receive new type of medication. Now, if two groups have noticeably different outcomes, definitely two groups have received different thing, one placebo and another one is medication. So, both group will get the different outcomes. They will experience so many things. So, due to ethical reason, there are limitations for using the control studies. So it would not be appropriate to use two comparable groups or have one of them undergo harmful activity while other does not. To overcome this situation, the observational studies are studies we can use here. So here observational studies we can use for investigating purpose. For we have to investigate our correlation, our causation for the population interest. So in the studies can look behavior and outcomes and observe any changes over the time. The objective of these studies generally provide statistical information for adding to the other sources information that would be required for the process establishing whether or not causality exists between two variables. Now, written communication. What is meant by the written communication? The written communication includes the letters, emails, social media, books, magazines, internet and the other media. So, written communication will contain some letters like email, some social media. Nowadays, there are so many social media. So, definitely, you are sending some letters, emails, some data from one source to another source, books, magazines, all things are included in the written communication. Generally, small number of writers and publishers were very powerful when it come to communicating the written word. So today we can all write and publish our ideas online. There is a largely we can communicate on online, so we can convey our message easily by using the social media. So we can explore our information and we can improve our information and communication possibilities. So now formal communication, the formal communications are one that flows through the official channels designed in the organizational chart. It may take place between the superior and subordinate, a subordinate and superior, or among the same cadre, employees or manager. So formal communication may be between only professional. Who are professional, they can communicate formally, just organizational purpose, and only working purpose they can communicate. This communication can be oral or can be writing, in the form of writing also, and these are generally recorded and filed in the office. This communication, formal communication, may classified as vertical communication and horizontal communication also. So informal communication, any communication that take place without following formal channels of communication is said to be informal communication. So that means we can say that whenever we are speaking with our friends, that is informal communication. While speaking with our friend, we will not think about what we are talking. Just we will communicate. That is our informal communication. So informal communication is often effort like grapevine, as it spread throughout the organization and in all directions without any regard to the level of the authority. So it spread rapidly, gets distorted, and it is very difficult to detect the source of such communication. So it also leads to rumors which are not true. People's behavior is often affected by rumors and informal discussion, which sometimes may hamper the work environment. So sometimes it's very easy to affect on humans by informal communication. Communication channel. Communication channels means by which people in a company communicate and interact with one another. That is, communication channel means that is a mediator where we can communicate with the help of. So without proper communication channel, we can't communicate. It's extremely difficult for employees to align the business objective or goals. So as well as drive innovation or progress in the workplace. So we will see digital communication channel to reach and engage their staff. Most firms are using digital communication platforms. So generally they are using variety of online tools that employee can utilize to to stay in touch with one another. They can stay up to date. They can gain the knowledge. They can gain the knowledge. They can get, about the news and developments. This form of communication channel generally is thought to be most effective of all. So, for example, like social media, intranets, employee collaboration software, project management tools, feedback software. These are digital communication channels. Then face-to-face communication channel. Face-to-face communication channel is still, it's very effective. And nowadays, most of the organizations are using the face-to-face communication channel. And it is very easy to convey our message without misunderstanding. So, despite the fact electronic form of communication are gaining over, so it is still crucial since many situations require non-verbal communication like body language, gestures, signs, facial expression. Everything is very important in face-to-face communication. Now, written communication channel. Within corporation, this sort of communication is nearly extinct. Written communication means just sometimes there is need to send the mails, letters, memos, manuals, notices, some announcements for the employees. So definitely at that time we will use the written communication. But for external communication with the customer or retailers, distributor or other individual, written communication is more effective. For example, email, live chat, text messages, blogs, newsletters, written documents, these are also written communication channel. Now there are three strategy questions. Those three strategy questions are: why are we here? Next, what do we want to achieve? And the third one is: how do we do business? These three strategy questions are very important. So we will see one by one. First, why? Why is generally showing that what is your purpose? What is your mission? What is your mission of the statement, or your reason? So here we are finding out the reason, since why are we here? It's a fundamental question, and so answer is that very foundation of your answer is that the very foundation for your company. So it's not easy task to find a wording that makes sense. So definitely, why so many companies have mediocre or meaningless mission statements? So we have to find out why. We have to find out our purpose. So just delivering the difference, constantly improve the what is essential to human progress by mastering science and the technology. We provide broad range of staffing services and products. So definitely, here we have to deliver the difference. We have to improve the some progress, and we have to provide the broad range of the staffing services. And in first, what difference are they talking about? What does the difference do and to whom? So that's not the clear. Hence, statement is not really mission. It's not a mission. Second one, what purpose does constantly improving have? What is the essential to human progress? Could probably said about million of the products. And the last one is the all science and technology in the world. Which are these company actually focusing on the mastering? It's very typical example of lot of fancy words put together without any substance. So definitely these things will help to find out what is our purpose, what is our mission, why we are doing this. And in third, we are only told very broad term like company does, what the company does, but not why they do it. Now considering how important why is for employees, why is very important for the employees, customer and other stakeholders. Why it's important to understand your business. It's worth paying attention and allocating resources to process of nailing exactly what that mission statement that makes it clear to everyone why you are here. So there are simple guidelines for how to make strong why. First, you must uniquely tell why you are in the business. You have to find out why you came in the business, why you want to do business. Keep it simple. It must be able to pass the test. It must communicate to all relevant stakeholders like customers and employees are the most important ones. Then you have to leave out the fancy word. No need to use the fancy word. Your why is not, it's not a slogan or headline. So just leave the fancy words and you can use the simple words. Be specific and to be point. You must be able to decide and act based on your why. You have to decide. Now finally there are some examples. We delight consumer with fresh and tasteful greenhouse vegetables. We can help the citizens of our municipality find joy in creating and exerting, exploring some arts. And we make it simple for small and mid-sized business to implement and operate strategic its system. Next one is what? What you as a company want to achieve. It can be stated, there are some elements like vision, ambition, goal and objective. There are so many things. Many corporate visions are in fact ambitious. Ambitions. Vision is altruistic, and that means we can say ambition is something that you do to your own benefit. That is ambition. Vision is altruistic. For example, many companies have vision to become the most preferred supplier. Besides being completely toothless, and it's an ambition aimed satisfying their own egos. So this is about the what. We have to find out what we want to achieve. Our true vision is should be like that, benefit the greater good, something you want to achieve on behalf of the others. Save children vision, like a world in which every child attains the right to survival, protection, development and the participation. Just this is vision. There is nothing wrong in having an ambition rather than a vision. It only makes the sense for a few business to have a vision, and it doesn't call your ambition in vision. So objective and the goals may be quantitative or qualitative. It depends, and sometimes it can be financial and non-financial also. So important purpose of what is that it actually together with why makes you passionate. For example, whenever we are working with the startup company, at that time driver can be keeps some image in his mind or her mind, red Ferrari pictures hanging on wall in management, and they manage to expand the company and sell it for 50 million USD after just 5 years. Now how? Let me quote Batman. It's not who I'm underneath, but what I do that defines me. This goes your company as well. You are defined by how you run your business. The by far largest challenge today is that the need for robustness and flexibility. There is very important robustness and the flexibility. So in order to make footprint competitive market, you must be clear your profile differentiating you from the competitor. Your profile should be different as compared to your competitors. Building such profile that takes years and maintaining it requires consistently. At the same time, you have to respond to your opportunities, traits, and you have other changes promptly. At the same time, you have to be alert every time. So you have to manage your double challenges also. There is need employees at every level. We have to develop our road as your company goes from A to B. Everyone in the organization should be decide that and should act like independently but still in the clearly aligned manner. Make decentralization possible. All decision, action like behavior must be lying within the same framework. It should be relate to your work. This is where strategy generally came. A strategy will play very important role, and in nowadays strategy is very clear framework where where we have to check how to operate and how to develop our company. Now here we have to serve our purpose also. Besides that, why and what contain elements like value position, values like business guidelines. Sometimes we have to check. Then success factors, success criteria you have to check, market focus you have to check, customers focus, products, services, strategic assets, core competencies, some competitions parameters, KPIs, strategic moves and the development initiatives. So everything you have to check with why and the what, then you can achieve your goal. So this is all about the communicating. These are the references. You can go through this. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.